financial math revision slides. We're just going to go through it. Hopefully, I'll get it done quite quick. Um, I've just sort of simplified some things a bit further, but like we'll just try and get it done as fast as we can. Okay. So, just remember, whenever you do calculations, you can do one or two things. Okay. Now, what I've mainly taught you all is to just convert the percentage into a decimal or fraction, but you don't really need to do that. What you can do is this second method as well. You can just type the percentage symbol in your calculator, but I'll show you how that all works. Okay. But just remember, if this is what you're used to right here, just stick with that. Okay. So, this is how you convert between decimals, percentages, fractions, all that kind of stuff. So, if you want to go from a decimal and you want to go to a percentage, okay. So, decimal or fraction to a percentage, you just times by 100. Okay, you just get your number times it by 100. But if you want to go from a percentage and you want to go to decimal fraction, you divide by 100 instead. And then make sure you have this button, or make sure you use this button on your calculator, because this button will convert between your fractions and decimals. Okay, so this will convert between decimal and fraction. So make sure you have that. Okay. All right. Expressing one quantity as a percentage of another, it just means how much one number is compared to another, and you just write it as a percentage. Now, first thing you got to do is make sure they have the same units. Okay. So if you have a look at my example here, it just says here express 50 cents as a percentage of $2.50. You need to convert one of these two prices to match the other. Okay. So in my case here, I've actually converted 50 cents and written it as dollars instead. And then I've just done 0.50 over 2.5 times 100. You end up getting 20%. Okay. Now, uh, finding percentage of a quantity. So this is what I've taught you all so far. So you can write it as a decimal form. You could have written it as a fraction form. But what you can also do, if you have a look at my calculator here, find 15% of $35. The word of just means times. Okay. So what I can do exactly is, if you have a look at my calculator, I can do 15%. So to get percent, you want to press second and then the open bracket sign. So you have the percentage symbol there, and then you just do multiply that by 35. You'll still get the same answer of 525. Okay, so you could have just done 15% times 35, which equals the same answer. And vice versa, for the second example, times 24 equals to $8.40. Okay, now obviously, because we're dealing with money, two decimal places, you must remember that. Okay. Percentage increase. Basically, you're just increasing. You're just adding the percent to 100 to 100. So that's all you got to do. Okay. So just to increase the amount by a given percentage, multiply by 100% plus the given percentage. So yada yada yada. So if the question says increase by 30, just make sure you add first. Add first. Okay. You could just essentially just type in 130% times whatever a number, okay? But we'll just go through some examples now. So this is the typical default method that I taught you all. What you had to do was you did 100 plus 15, and then you converted that to a decimal, and then you multiplied that by the quantity, yeah, which is 80.5. But what if I told you you could just type in 115% times 70? If you type this in exactly in your calculator, you will still get the same answer, okay? Just type this exactly. I'll just say, oh, okay? Now, just remember, to get the percentage sign, you have to press second first and then the open bracket. That's how you get the percentage symbol. So I'll go 115% times 70. and I'll get my same answer. Okay. Percentage decrease is the same. Instead of adding, you're just going to subtract it from 100 instead. Okay. So in this case, the default that I've taught you here, I've already written it out. So zero point 0.6 times 5.2 gives me $3.12. Or you could just type in 60% times $5.20. You will still get the same answer. Okay. Now, this is really important. Percentage change, very big deal. Um, it's basically saying how much a value has increased or decreased by compared to its original amount. Okay, and your final answer should be written as a percentage. So this is the formula you use. Change over original times 100. What change means is the difference between the new amount versus the original amount. So what you're going to do is you're just going to subtract the two numbers. Okay, doesn't matter which order you subtract, just go highest to lowest, and you will find how far apart they are. So if you have a look at my example here, it's just I've already talked to you about toilet paper, so let's just do a different one. Actually, we'll just talk about it. Price of a pack of toilet paper increased from 10 to 13.50. Find a percentage change. So you're gonna find what the difference is. So we found that to be $3.50, and then we just applied our formula $3.50 over 10, and then we just multiplied that by 100%. Okay. Now just remember your final answer should be written as a percentage like that. Okay. Let's see the second one. The population of a town decreases. So it decreases from 3,220 to 2,985. Find a percentage change. So it's going to find my change, which is 3,220 minus 2,985. If you type that in your calculator, you'll get something. 3,220 minus 2,985, 235. And then you just do your percentage change. So 235 over the original amount, which is 3,220, times this by 100. So if you type that in exactly, 3,220 times 100, you will get 7.30%. Okay. Right. Profit, amount of profit made on the sale. If profit's negative, we call it a loss. You should know what that is. Okay. Now, these formulas very important. Percentage profit, percentage loss. Okay. You just type it in exactly how it is. Obviously, because we're dealing with, um, how much you bought it for. Just remember, cost price just means how much you bought for. Okay. And yeah, there we go. So just remember these formulas. These are just some examples here. Just go through it. I think you'll be fine if you just follow. Um, if you just follow the formula, you should be fine. Markup. Now, um, two methods. Okay, a lot of people would have chosen method one, but some would have chosen method two as well. I'll just talk about it really briefly. So, say for example, I bought something for $45 and I plan on increasing the price by 32%. So what I'm going to do here is find how much I increase the price by. So I just do the markup percentage times the cost price. You could have also just done 32% times 45. And I'll just show you that. Hold on. What is it? Yeah, just like this. I'll type on the calculator 32% times 45, which equals to 14.40 based on what we've got. And then you just add it towards your cost price. And that's your new new selling price right there. Now the second method is like this. Now this formula will be really handy It's really handy for finding original price. So make sure you have it, okay? So the new price equals to 100 plus X percent times original price. X is pretty much your markup percentage. Um, Markup percentage, just like that, okay? So this is method two. So just remember that. So electrical store marks up all entertainment systems by 30% if the cost of a system's 8K, what will be its selling price? So I'll do both methods. So I'll do method one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find out the markup percentage. I mean the markup price, which equals to what's that? So you can do 0.3 times 8,000, or you could do 30% times 8,000. Same answer. So I found this to be 2,400. And then I'm going to find the new price by adding it to its original price. So that will end up being $10,400. Okay. So now you got method two. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add the 30% um, to 100. So it'll be 100 plus 30, 130%. And then you just do 130% times 8,000, which equals to 10,400. Now, just to double check, let's just make sure we do it right. So I could have converted the percentage as a decimal. There we go. Or I could have just written 130% times 10,400. I mean, times 8,000. Same answer. So that's all it is. So those are the difference between the two methods. Hopefully people steer towards method two, but if method one is more your fancy, stick with it, okay? So we're talking about discount now. Obviously, when the price is reduced, it's very similar to method one in markup. It's where you're finding how much your discount is, and then you subtract it from price itself. So that's just what this slide is. Method two is much more better, very similar to markup. Instead of adding your percentage to 100, you're going to subtract it instead. Now, if you have a look at this example here, I've already done it ahead of time. Um, and as you can see, all you have to do is just take a look, okay? Now, this is where it gets really important, okay? Very, very important. Make sure you understand. So this is when you're trying to find the original amount or price before the change was applied. Now, what I'd recommend is use method two, okay? Use it. It helps you a lot. So let's just have a look here. After rain, the volume of water in a tank increased by 24% to 2,200 liters. How much water was in the tank before it rained? Round to the nearest liter. So this right here, this is the method. If you have a look right here, this is method two. That's the formula for method two. So if we have a look at the markup, it's pretty much the exact same, okay? So markup slash increase, whatever. Pretty much the same thing. So I'm going to start with that. Um, so it says here X is the percentage increase. And this is what you're going to do. This is literally the formula right here. Original price equals to, or original value equals to new value over 100 plus X percent. So let's just figure out what the percentage is after I add X. So it'll be Original equals to new over 124%. And because we're trying to find what the original value is, we're given the new value based on our question, which is 2200. And I'm going to divide this by, you can write it as 124%, or you could write this as 1.24. It doesn't matter. So if you just do original equals 2200 over 1.24, it still works. So if you type this in exactly into your calculator, 2200 divided by 1.24, you'll get this here, 1774 liters. If I typed it the other way, 2200 divided by 124%, I should still get the same exact answer, okay? So just like that. So that's how much water was in the tank before it rained. Now, please give this one a try, okay? Just use the same formula that I did. You should be okay. All right, so this is when you're trying to find, no, I wouldn't say original price, I just say value. Um, so a toy shop discounts a toy by 10% in a sale. If the sale price was 10.80, $10.80, what was its original price? I'm just following the same step based on this formula here. So just remember, this is for when you're decreasing. So instead of adding your percentage to 100, you're going to subtract it. Okay. So let's just figure that out. Original. And what was the new price after the discount? It was $10.80. And I'm going to divide it by 90%. Or you could say 0.90. Doesn't matter. Just type it in and you get your final answer. 10.80 divided by 0.9, which equals to 12. Or you could have done the same thing, 10.80 divided by 90%, like that, and you'll still get the same number. Doesn't matter. Just make sure you have this in. Very important. Try this one out for yourself. We'll go from there. All right, types of income. Three main ones I just want you to learn. The rest are pretty much just for general knowledge, okay? Not really important, but yeah. Wages, okay? So you need to know this. This is very important. You need to know what time and a half means and what double time means because you need to calculate the new hourly rate when people work during these times, okay? So you can't just like go at it blindly. You got to do some thinking when it comes to these types of questions, but you should be okay. Now, salary is pretty much a fixed yearly amount, okay? So they'll get paid either installments of monthly or weekly, or they get paid fortnightly, okay? It's not that bad. All you got to do is take your salary and then divide it by any one of these, okay? Depending on what the question's asking. So all of this go in there. You never know. It just depends on what the question's asking of you. Finally, you got commission, okay? Um, so to calculate commission, it's very similar to how you would calculate your quantity, which is from earlier in the chapter, but this is just the formula here. Just have it. It's perfectly fine. Have it in your book, okay? Next one. So yeah, like I mentioned earlier, make sure you calculate the overtime separately. So let's just go through a couple examples and then like I'll just leave you to it. Um, a worker earns $25 per hour and then they work 38 hours per week, okay? Find the weekly income. So it's pretty easy. It's gonna do 25 times 38. Type that in the calculator. You're gonna get some number $950 per week. And the question says find their annual income. Annual meaning year. So how many weeks there are in a year? There's 52. And I know what the weekly income is. So I could just go 950 times 52. Type that in my calculator, which equals to 49,400. So in 1 year, this person earns 49K 400. This is another question. This is a question where we have to calculate the overtime. So just be careful when you're reading, okay? So someone earns $30 an hour. They work 38 hours per week. But 1 week they worked 5 hours of overtime at 1.5 times. Uh, you just say 1.5 times. Find his total income for this one specific week. So what we're going to do is we're going to calculate how many hours Daniel worked based on the regular pay. So just subtract the 2 hours. So you get 33 hours normal. What I'm going to do now is multiply the 33 by his typical rate, which is $30. So 30 times 33, which equals to 30 times 33, $990. And then we're going to find out how much he earned from that overtime. So it'll be, so let's just calculate his hourly rate. Um, for the overtime, I believe this will be $45 per hour. And because he worked a total of 5 hours, we just take that 45, multiply it by 5. We should get $225. So total, Daniel earned $990 plus 225. Well, it should have been 225, not 222. And this adds up to be uh, 1215, if my math is right. 990 plus 225. Oh, yeah, 1215. There we go. How much extra did he earn from overtime? Okay, so um, I think this question is just asking compared to normal. So you got to find how much like Daniel would make if he just worked a regular week with no overtime. So it would be 30 times 38, which equals to 1140. And then you just compare it to how much he earned in that overtime week. So you just go 1215, no, 1215 minus 1140, which equals to, let's have a look here, minus this, $75. So Daniel earned an extra $75 extra. Okay. Right. The simple interest formula, make sure you have this down, very important. You should know what each of the variables represent. So just go from there. Calculate the simple interest earned if the principal is $1,000. The rate is 5%, and the time is 3 years. So in the question, they'll give you key info. You just got to spot them out. Okay. Let's just use our formula. I equals PRT over 100. So principal is 1,000 times the rate, which is 5, times the time, which is 3. Divide this by 100. I should get, let's see here. This now becomes 10 times 5 times 3, which is $150. So over 3 years, the interest earned is $150. Okay, that's all it is. Now, what you're going to do next is you're going to calculate the final balance after that period of time. So this is a separate formula here. You have A equals P plus I. P meaning the principal, I being the interest that you found using your simple interest formula. So let's just use our previous example. So far we found that I is $150 and we know that P is 1,000. So to find the total balance at the end, we just do 1,000 plus 150, which equals to 1,150, just like that. Okay. Now, sometimes the questions will provide you some different kind of information, but like um, w- we should be able to like spot these kinds of nuances and then work towards what we want. So what I mean by that here is if you have a look, let's just read it. Um, blah blah blah. Plan to invest some money for their child. They invest $4,000 for 30 months in an account that pays 4.5% per annum. Calculate the simple interest and the amount available at the end of 30 months. So typically your time here is normally in years. The thing is, they gave it to us in months. So what we need to do is convert from months into years. So find how long 30 months is, but in year format, pretty much. So we know that 1 year is 12 months. Now we need to find how long 30 months is in years. So that's actually 2.5 years. Okay, just like that. So now that we've fixed our time, our t value, we can now just work how we normally do. So we can now go I equals to PRT over 100, which equals to 4,000 times 4.5 times 2.5 divided by 100 there. And if you just type this in your calculator, 4,000 times 2.5 times 4.5, which no, that's not right. Really? 4,000. Oh no, I have to divide by 100. There we go. Divide by 100, $450. And now, because the question is also asking how much was there available at the end of this period of time, we're going to do A equals P plus I. So 4,000 plus 450 equals to $4,450, just like that. Okay. Finally, you have compound interest. Okay. So it's interest that's calculated on both the original amount and any interest already added. Okay. You don't really go based off years. It's based off how many periods there are, like how many compounding periods. So if we have a look here, um, this is just an example that I've done. So you have $10,000, $10,000 compounded at 5% interest, and this goes on for 3 years. What you're going to do is apply this I equals PRT. I don't know if I have it here. I did type it here earlier, but I will just type it up again. So this is pretty much P. This is pretty much using your I equals PRT over 100, just like that. And then your closing balance is pretty much A equals P plus I. And you're going to do this every single time for every single year. Now, so I'll just do I equals to 10,000 times 5 times 1. Most importantly, the thing that changes now is your time that you substitute in your interest formula. It's not based on the whole duration anymore. It's based on the one single year or the period. Okay. So you always multiply it by one. This is the key point right here. Multiplying by one, very important. And obviously, when you work that out, you get one, two, you just get $500. And then after that, you add this $500 that you found from the interest to your principal. So you'll end up getting $10,500. Now, the key important thing is because this period has ended, whatever I had in the final balance from the previous year, that will now be my new principal for the following period. So 10,500 is my new principal. And now I'm going to find the interest on this. So this will be 10,500 times 5 times 1. And then you divide this by 100, you get $525. So what I'm going to do now is add this $525 to 10,500. So that will give me $11,025 if I'm correct. Now that we've finished the second compounding period, this will now become my new principal. And I'm just going to do the same thing over and over again. Whoops, mistake. 11,025 times 5 times 1 over 100, which equals to, let's figure that out, 551.25. Then obviously you're just going to add this plus 11,025. So at the end of the 3 years, I would have earned 11,576.25. That's how much I would have in my total account. Now, if I just did regular simple interest times 3 over 100, I would have just gotten, what is it? $1,500. Okay. And obviously, when you find a total amount after that, you would have gone 11,500. Now you just compare the differences. Like I had, I use similar formulas. I had the same numbers, 10,000, 5%, 3 years. I use very similar numbers, but as you can see, compound interest like gave me more money than if I were to just at the end of the day, at the end of the period, as opposed to the simple interest formula. Now it doesn't seem that grand now, like that much now, but the more you compound, the more you actually get in return. So that's why the saying is compound interest is always better than regular interest. Okay. Now, this seems like a hassle to do, but you do need to know it. Very important to do. You need to learn how to do this. So make sure you have this down. But there is a quicker way to do it. There's a formula that we use. So what you're going to do is copy down this formula. It has the same variables as what we've done previously. The only difference is the time is not called time in years, it's just called number of compounding periods. So let's just apply this to actual practice. Elmo invested 10K in a bank, so you got 10,000. Bank pays interest rate of 7%. It's compounded annually. What's the value of Elmo's investment at the end of 5 years? So let's just use our formula. P over 1 plus R over 100 to the power of n. Now we know that P is 10,000. I know my R is 7%, so I'm just going to do 7 over 100. And then the compounding will be over 5. And if you just type this exactly into your calculator, 10,000, 1 plus 7 over 100, and then you close brackets to the power of 5. You will end up getting 14,025.52 cents. 14,025.52 cents. Let's just double check that. Yeah. How much interest has Elmo earned over this time? So, because what you found in part A is your final answer, what you're just going to do is just subtract the two numbers, okay? So 14,025.52 minus 10,000. And then as you can see, it's 4,025.52 cents, just like that. That's how much interest Elmo has earned over this period of time. Alright. Compounding interest monthly. So this changes the whole thing. Okay, very important. You have to change a period of time into months. So however many months there are. Okay. Doesn't matter what they give you, you have to just convert it into months. This is your new compounding period value. Now, your percentage rate gets divided by 12 to find the monthly rate. So, this will be your new R value as well. So, let's just do one example. Um, VV invests $6,000 at 8.4% per annum for 4 years. Calculate the final value of the investment if interest is compounded monthly. Round to nearest cent. So let's first convert our 4 years into months. So 4 years is actually 48 months. And we need to find our new rate percentage because this is based on per annum, 8.4% per annum, per annual, per year. We are now going to divide this value by 12 and I'll get 0.7% per month. Okay. Now, that in mind, just apply the formula again, but you're just going to change the numbers this time. So this will now become A equals to 6,000, 1 plus 0.7 over 100 to the power of 48 instead. So if you type this in your calculator, oh no, not plus, times 1 plus 0.7 over 100, close brackets to the power of 48, I will get 8,386.21. 8,386.21. So that's how much money you've earned at the end of the 4 years, okay? Or that's how much you would have in the account. Now let's just double check. Um, let's just double check. If we did this normally, I wonder if it will be the same answer, but I'm pretty sure it's not. But we'll just double check anyway. So it'll be A equals to 6,000, 1 plus 8.4 over 100 to the power 4. So let's just try that out. 6,000, 1 plus 8.4 over 100, close brackets to the power of 4. So as you can see, you actually earned less. 8,284 point, what was it? 5-4. As you can see, you earned less. You got less. So it just goes to show the more compounding periods you have, the more you will accumulate in the long run. Okay? Now, please talk to me about this compound interest. I'll have a talk with you separately, one on one. Just good luck, study hard. Okay? Just remember, the project is split up into two sections. The very first lesson is a test, a mini test that goes on for half an hour exactly. You'll be sitting in test conditions, and then the rest of the cat will be a project which you'll spend the next 2.5 lessons on. Um, and then yeah, we'll just go from there. Calculators are allowed, your books are allowed, all your notes are allowed. Just make sure you stick everything in your book first. I don't want to see like loose pieces of paper. Stick it in your book, and then yeah, we'll just go from there. Okay, make sure you bring everything. I've only got one calculator on me, so if you don't bring a calculator on the day, you got to try and find one. Okay, I won't be finding one for you. Good luck, take care, enjoy.